Let's discuss. Hey everyone, it's Rachel back again with another reaction video, and today I'm going to be checking out a track from Humanity's Last Breath off of their album Välde from last year at this point, 2021. It is the closing track, and I have not heard it, but I've been listening through this album this week, and I love it. I know I did Earthless on the channel in 2020, and that this track I'm about to check out also came out in 2020. I've listened to the full album now, other than this song, and I love it. It's just so heavy, those riffs. It's just something that I feel like now I appreciate a lot more with where my music tastes at than I really enjoyed Earthless when I listened to it in 2020. But with all of the stuff that I've listened to and come to appreciate and has worked its way into my music taste now, I'm liking this album a ton more than I expected to. I didn't expect to dislike it, but it's been on repeat for me really. So I wanted to do a video for Vittring, which is the closing track. That is what we'll be doing today. I'm going to stop talking and we are going to get straight into it. That whisper. That stutter. Humanity's Last Breath, Vittring, let's discuss. So as the closer track, I thought maybe not really sure what to expect with the bands like Humanity's Last Breath. The closing track usually throws me for just being open to whatever they'll do if I'm not very familiar with the band. In this case, definitely not, because a lot of times a closing track will switch it up, or it's definitely substantial or significant is really what I'm trying to say here. It's a significant track, obviously. It's the last thing people are hearing as you close the record. With this, it felt almost like a little bit different than what I would still expect, because sometimes with a closer I expect like to kind of work in all of the elements from the rest of the album if it doesn't do like, you know, a soft closing vibe. But this it was really dark, had a really dark atmosphere to it, and then the visuals obviously probably added to that because I was watching the music video while listening to it. But for me, it felt like the music that I was hearing matched up really well with that video, especially the progression in the music compared to the progression in the music video and where that goes. And really just overall on this album, like the tracks that have stood out to me the most, like Earthless, Spectre, Tide, Sirens is another one of my favorites. When you listen to those tracks, the things that are appealing about them are completely different than what I would say is appealing about this track, other than it has that like atmosphere in it and the wacky time signatures. And you know, for me, Humanity's Last Breath, what is really sticking out to me now revisiting, obviously Earthless ended up being one of my favorite tracks on this album, and I listened to this in 2020, this song, and it didn't have the same effect for me, I think because of like how I listen to music now and some of the stuff I'm more into. And again, I already said I did really enjoy it, but just listening to it now, I'm like, all right, like I've been revisiting a lot. And for me, I love a lot of the high vocals with Humanity's Last Breath. A lot of the highs really grab me, especially with how, you know, it's the opposite of usually what you're hearing instrumentally. But anyway, with this, the rhythm, just like the time signatures, just in hearing it in a different context, I guess, because all over this album, I would say the time signatures are super wacky. But with this one, it was just something different. It was bringing a different like vibe, I guess, because a lot of the songs, I mean, it's heavy music, so you can take a lot of dark feeling themes or whatever you want from them, but it's a lot of times involved in like the atmosphere or the rhythms and how stuff is presented that makes it have like that really dark feel to it. And this definitely had that, like the whispering and stuff that I mentioned. I think that like kind of foreshadows you even almost, because that was earlier on in the song for sure, and I remember hearing it and being like, oh, it's kind of creepy. And then as you go on in the song, I think it was very fitting to have that. So stuff like that, the stuttering, again, that atmosphere, there's just certain parts like having time signatures like that, or you know, where there's so much space where there's, you know, not a ton going on, where other parts of this album really chaotic and such, but just the layering even on something slower like this, like all the work in the guitar, like the point in which I said that riff, it had a different sound to it, whereas like, you know, there's that darker feeling, kind of more consistent sound that you're getting from the guitars, but then also you're getting those riffs that still tie into, that's how I feel it ties back into the rest of the album. But with the closer, I don't always, I don't always expect it to have that, so it really didn't need to, but I loved that it did have those riffs involved in it still, because it makes it a more revisitable song for me, because I like that slow and dark tone, but this doesn't strike me as like one of my favorites on the album or anything because of that. But it having like those riffs still kind of sprinkled in there and stuff, and bringing something like a new angle or like a different feel to the album than the other songs really have, it adds more to it for me. So I really like this as a closer. It feels different from the rest of the album, and I've listened to it probably like 3 or 4 times now in full this week, before doing the album other than the closing track, so I'm pretty familiar with the rest of it. And yeah, I've really liked those tracks that I mentioned the most, probably Earthless or Spectre being my favorite. Earthless or Tide, maybe. I don't know. It's between those 3, I think, but I also really like Sirens a lot. So those are my thoughts on the album and the song briefly. I've really been enjoying it, so that's why I wanted to do this video. I was looking at people's lists and saw Humanity's Last Breath on quite a few of them, and I didn't get around to listening to the full thing, so thus I did. I will link the video I reacted to, as well as all of Humanity's Last Breath's social media and such, in the description of this video, and you can go check out the video if you liked it, give them a thumbs up, that sort of stuff. Very important for the bands and such to be, getting their merch purchased and stuff, so I always include all that, dog noises, sorry, in the description. So other than that, you can also find my link tree in the description. It will have the invite for the Discord server that I talk about all of the time. It is full of a bunch of my favorite people, and we've got a lot of conversation related to music, a lot of conversation unrelated to music, just kind of a lot going on, a really awesome community of people. So if you're interested in coming to join, check that out. That will be there, as well as my Instagram profile link. On Instagram, I do keep it all music related, whether it be on my story about a new video, which I try to do, sometimes I do forget, or on my actual posts. I post a chart every Friday of what I've listened to the most over the course of the week, top 25, albums, singles, whatever the case may be. And then I also post 2 other posts usually during the week of merch, sweatshirts, vinyl, flags, t-shirts, whatever I have ready to post. I have a never-ending collection of merch. And then, yeah, my charts. So I'll post about shows too. I'm nervous to keep saying that because I feel shows may be at risk again, but for right now, as I'm going to shows and stuff, if I have anything to post after, I also post about that. So my handle on there is the same as my YouTube channel. It is Rachel Reacts, but if you have any interest in following me, that link will also be in the link tree in the description, as I said. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.